Hi, this is Mato. In this video I will show you a very beautiful chess game. This is the game between Capablanca and Marshall that was played in New York in 1918. This is the game in which Frank Marshall introduced deadly Gambit against Spanish opening. This Gambit is in his honor called Marshall attack. In this game, Capablanca had white pieces and he started with e4. Marshall played e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5, Spanish opening. a6, bishop to a4, knight to f6, Capablanca castled kingside, bishop to e7, rook to e1, b5 attacking the bishop, bishop to b3, Marshall castled kingside, c3 preparing d4, and now d5. Marshall Gambit was born. Black sacrificed the pawn for the attack on the white king. d6 was move popular at that time, defending the pawn on e5 and bringing light square bishop in the game. But in our game we have d5 for the first time. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes on d5, knight takes on e5, knight takes knight, rook takes knight, and Capablanca is a pawn up. But it will take time before his queenside pieces are developed. Knight to f6 was played. Let's take it back. c6 is considered to be the best move nowadays. The line goes like this: d4, bishop to d6, rook to e1, and now queen to h4. As you can see in this c6 variation, queen can get quickly to the king's side to attack the white king. Never mind. In our game, knight to f6 was played, rook to e1, bishop to d6, and now h3 to prevent knight to g4. Surprise, surprise. Marshall played knight to g4, sacrificing the knight. And Capablanca did not take the knight. He played queen to f3. We would like to know what would happen if pawn takes knight. If pawn takes knight, then queen to h4, and after f3, bishop to g3, and the white king would not feel very comfortable. So in the game, Capablanca played queen to f3, queen to h4, d4. Capablanca wants to bring dark square bishop in the game. And now, knight takes pawn on f2. And Capablanca didn't capture the knight. He played rook to e2. Rook to e3 was also good, but we would like to know what will happen if queen takes knight. If queen takes knight, then Marshall would play bishop to h2 check. Why not bishop to g3? Bishop to g3 would be a blunder. Why? What would you play in this position if you had white pieces? If you wish, you can pause this video and you can try to find the best move for white in this position. Are you ready? What did you find? Queen takes pawn on f7 check, and after rook takes queen, rook to e8 checkmate. That would happen if bishop goes to g3. But Marshal would play bishop to h2 check. If king goes to h1 or takes the bishop, then queen takes queen. That means that king must go to f1. And now if bishop to g3, would you still do the same? Have a good look. Would you capture the pawn on f7? It doesn't work now. If queen takes on f7, then rook takes on f7 check. There is no time to play rook to e8 because it's check. Okay, let's go back to our game. In our game, instead of queen takes knight, rook to e2 was played. Bishop to g4, attacking the queen. Pawn takes bishop. Bishop to h2 check. King to f1. Bishop to g3. And now rook takes knight, exchanging the rook for two light pieces. Check. King to e2. Bishop takes rook. And now first move that comes to mind is king takes bishop. But then queen takes bishop on c1 would be unclear. Capablanca played a better move, bishop to d2. Marshal played bishop to h4. Queen to h3. Capa wants to trade queens. Check. King to d3. Check. King to c2. And the white king is finally feeling safe. Bishop to f2. Queen to f3. Queen to g1. Bishop to d5. c5. Pawn takes pawn on c5. Bishop takes on c5. b4, attacking bishop. Bishop to d6. a4. Sleeping rook will now become a powerful piece. a5. Pawn takes pawn on b5. Pawn takes pawn on b4. Rook to a6, attacking bishop on d6. Pawn takes pawn on c3. Knight takes on c3, and all of the white pieces are now developed. Bishop to b4. b6. Pass pawn is on the 6th rank now. Bishop takes knight. Bishop takes bishop. h6. b7. Rook to e3, attacking white queen. It is white to move. In this position, Capablanca played a move and Marshal resigned. What would you play in this position if you had white pieces? Capablanca played bishop takes pawn on f7 and Marshal resigned in view of this continuation. Rook takes bishop. Pawn to b8, queen check. King to h7. Rook takes pawn on h6 check. King takes rook. Queen to h8 check. King to g5, and there is checkmate in one. Can you see it? Queen to h5, checkmate. What about if king goes to h7? Is that better? Then queen to f5 check, and after king to h8, Rook takes pawn on h6, checkmate. Pawn on g7 is pinned. And just one more. What about king to h8? How would you continue now? Rook takes pawn on h6, checkmate. The story goes that Marshall was keeping this opening in secret for nearly 10 years, saving it for this day. We have to give credit to Capablanca, who brilliantly defended against this strong and prepared attack. And that is all. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I wish you good luck with your chess, and bye for now.